Hello, my students out there. You're welcome to another literature class. And today, in this lesson, we'll be discussing William Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream. Of course, William Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream is a comedy. Quite an interesting one for that. And you know that this is the text you're supposed to be reading this term, if not for the pandemic that made you to be staying at home now. This is the text we have for this term. However, I will encourage you to get a copy of William Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream and read it so that you get the detailed information about the comedy. But for now, we are going to look at the plot's accounts. Sorry, the accounts of the play. Now, in Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare, we have Theseus, Duke of Athens, who is preparing for his marriage to Hippolyta, Queen of the Amazons, with a 4-day festival of pomp and entertainments. Being the Duke, and you can imagine, just let's say we have a prince or the governor getting married in the States or in Nigeria. You know what that means. So he commissions his master of the revels, Philostratus, to find suitable amusements for the occasion. Aegius, who is an Athens nobleman, marches into Theseus' court with his daughter Hermia and 2 young men called Demetrius and Lysander. Aegius wishes Hermia to marry Demetrius, who loves Hermia, but Hermia is in love with Lysander and refuses to comply. Now let's get it straight. Hermia is Aegius' daughter, and the father wants her to marry Demetrius. While Hermia herself is in love with another young man called Lysander. And because of her love for Lysander, she refuses to accept the father's wish that she marries Demetrius. So, as a result of that, Aegius asks for full penalty of law to fall on her daughter Hermia if she flouts his will. That is, if Hermia refuses to marry Demetrius according to her father's instruction, then she should be ready to face the wrath of the law. Theseus, gives Hermia until his wedding to consider her options, warning her that disobeying her father's wishes could result in her being sent to a convent or even executed. That means the Duke tells Hermia that she has from that moment to his own wedding day to consider or reconsider what the father says, and if she eventually refuses to marry her father's choice, then she will be sent to a convent. You know what that means? That means she will forget everything about marriage or even executed. That means she may end up being killed at the end of the whole thing. Nevertheless, Hermia, who is very much in love with Lysander, plans, Hermia and Lysander plan to escape Athens the following night and marry in the house of Lysander's aunt, some 7 leagues distant from the city. That means Hermia and Lysander, because of the love they have for each other, decided to elope, and marry secretly in Lysander's aunt's house. which is 7 leagues distant from the city. So that must be quite a distance. They made their intentions known to Hermia's friend Helena, who was once engaged to Demetrius and still loves him. So I hope you understand what is happening here. While Hermia is in love with Lysander, Helena is in love with Demetrius. Then Hermia's father wants her to marry Demetrius, who is engaged to Helena. Okay, so this Helena, we are made to understand that Helena is engaged to Demetrius, and she still loves him, despite the fact that he jilted her after meeting Hermia. That means immediately Demetrius sets his eyes on Hermia, he decided to, quit the relationship that exists between him and Helena. Now, hoping to regain his love, Helena tells Demetrius of the elopement that Hermia and Lysander have planned. So at the appointed time, Demetrius stalks into the woods after his intended bride, and her lover Helena follows behind him. In these same woods are two very different groups of characters. So we say in this play, we have different subplots that make up or help in building the main plots. So part of the subplots is that in these woods are two different groups of characters. The first is the band of fairies, including Oberon, the fairy king, and Titania, his queen, who has recently returned from India to bless a marriage of Theseus and Hippolyta. That means in this wood we have the fairies. Shakespearean plays are filled with a lot of fairies and all that. So among these fairies we have Oberon, who happens to be a fairy king, and Titania, his queen. And they returned from India to bless the marriage between Theseus and Hippolyta. Remember I told you earlier at the beginning of the story that Theseus and Hippolyta are planning to marry. So the second set of characters is a band of Athenian craftsmen rehearsing a play that they hope to perform for the Duke and his bride. Okay, so we have two sets of persons here, two groups of characters. Like I said earlier, the fairies and the Athenian craftsmen. And these people gathered in the wood as a result, gather in the wood as a result of the wedding they are planning, the Duke's wedding. The fairies are there to bless the wedding, while the Athenian craftsmen are there to perform a play for the Duke and his bride. Okay. Oberon and Titania by the prince's mother. The boy is so beautiful that Oberon wishes to make him a knight, but Titania refuses. Seeking revenge, Oberon sends his merry servant Puck to acquire a magical flower, the juice of which can be spread over the sleeping Titania's eyelids. Now, having seen Demetrius act cruelly towards Helena, he orders Puck to spread some of the juice on the eyelids of the young Athenian man. So all these incidents now, or actions, are happening in the wood. Now, Puck encounters Lysander and Hermia, thinking that Lysander is the Athenian of whom Oberon spoke about. So Lysander was mistaken for Demetrius. Puck afflicts him with the love potion. Lysander happens to see Helena upon waking and falls deeply in love with her. So you can see the complexity there. Lysander, who is supposedly in love with Hermia, now ends up falling in love with Helena because of the love potion that Puck afflicts him with. Okay. And to see Helena, Lysander happens to see Helena upon waking and falls deeply in love with her, abandoning Hermia. As the night progresses and Puck tries to undo his mistake, both Lysander and Demetrius end up in love with the same person, who is Helena. So as a result of Puck's mischief, Lysander and Demetrius now end up in love with the same person, because Lysander happens to wake up to see Helena, and Demetrius has also the same experience. So both of them fall in love with Helena, who believes that they are mocking her, not knowing that Puck has played a mischief on the two young men. Hermia becomes so jealous that she tries to challenge Helena to a fight. So the two friends now want to fight because of the love of the two men. Demetrius and Lysander nearly fight over Helena's love. But Paul confuses them again by mimicking their voices, leading them apart until they are lost separately in the forest. Okay. So when Titania wakes, the first creature she sees is Nick Bottom, the most ridiculous of Athenian craftsmen, whose head Puck has mockingly transformed into that of an ass. Titania passes a ludicrous interlude dating on the ass-headed weaver. Eventually, Oberon obtains the Indian boy. Remember, like I said earlier, I think in the third paragraph or thereabouts, Oberon and Titania were fighting over the Indian boy. So, Puck spreads a love potion on Lysander's eyelids, and by morning all is well. Like every comedy, we're expected that at the end of every comedy or comic play, everything will end up well. So by morning all is well. Theseus and Hippolyta discover the sleeping lovers in the forest and take them back to Athens to be married. Demetrius now loves Helena, and Lysander now loves Hermia. So by this stage of the play, things have been settled. Demetrius is back in love with Helena, and Lysander is now back in love with Hermia. After the group wedding, the lovers watch Bottom, that is Nick, and his fellow craftsmen perform their play. So we can say in Midsummer's Night Dream, we have a play in a play, and that constitutes the subplot we're talking about. So after the group wedding, the lovers watch Nick Bottom and his fellow craftsmen perform their play, a formerly hilarious version of the story of Pyramus and Thisbe. When the play is completed, the lovers went to bed. The fairies briefly emerge to bless the sleeping couples with a protective charm and then disappear. Only Puck remains to ask the audience for its forgiveness and approval, and to urge it to remember the play as though it had all been a dream. So you can see at the end of this a wonderful story. Everything is restored to normal, and Eagles is no longer interested in Hermia, his daughter, getting married to Demetrius. So at the end of the play, Hermia gets back the love of her life, and Helena also gets back the love of her life. So that is the end of the story or plot count of the play Midsummer's Night Dream by William Shakespeare. Now let's quickly look at the background of the play. A Midsummer's Night Dream is a comedy written by William Shakespeare between 1595 and 1596. The play consists of multiple subplots, like I mentioned earlier, that revolve around the marriage of Theseus and Hippolyta. One subplot revolves around a conflict between four Athenian lovers, namely Helena, Hermia, Demetrius, and Lysander. So, Hermia for Lysander, Demetrius for Helena. The other one is about a group of 6 actors who have to act out our interpretation of the play Pyramus and Thisbe at the wedding of Theseus and Hippolyta. That's the other subplot. These subplots take place in the forest, that's the wood, inhabited by fairies, who control the characters of the play. So that is why we have the likes of Oberon, Titania, Puck, and the rest of them. The play is one of Shakespeare's most popular works for the stage, and it is widely performed across the world. Please, the word there is widely. It is widely performed across the world. Okay, we have character lists. The characters involved in the play. We have Theseus, who is a Duke of Athens. We have Hippolyta, Queen of the Amazons. We have Aegeus, father of Hermia. And then Hermia herself is a daughter of Aegeus, who is in love with Lysander, although her father wants her to marry Demetrius. Then Demetrius is a suitor to Hermia and former lover of Helena. Now remember, Helena is Hermia's friend. Then we have Philostratus, master of the revels. We have Nick Bottom, who is a weaver and the leader of the craftsmen, Athenian craftsmen, who acted the play of Pyramus and Thisbe. Then we have also Francis Flutes, who is a bellows minder. And we have Tom Smout, who is a tinker, and Smog, a joiner. Okay, we also have Robin Stavlin, who is a tailor. We have Oberon, king of the fairies. We have Titania, queen of the fairies. Then we have Robin, who is Puck, the mischievous Puck, who is also known as Goodfellow. He is a mischievous spirit. In folklore, a spirit is a supernatural entity in European mythology. Okay, they are often depicted as fairy-like creatures or as ethereal entity. It is a word derived from the Latin spiritus, spirit via the French spirit. Okay, we have Peace Blossom, Cobweb, Moth, and Mustard Seed. Okay, all these are fairy servants to Titanic. Okay, Peace, Blossom, Cobweb, Moth, and Mustard Seed are all fairy servants to Titania. Then we have the Indian changeling. Okay, the little boy that Oberon and Titania were fighting over. And that boy is an award to Titania. Okay, quickly we have our assignments. We have, first and foremost, like I said before, get a copy of A Midsummer's Night Dream by William Shakespeare and read. Please, you have to read these texts because you must answer questions on it in external exams. Your ability to read it to help you answer questions on context clues. Then 2, A Midsummer's Night Dream was written by Dash in the year Dash. Okay, 2B, Dash characters is in love, Dash character is in love with Demetrius. Who is in love with Demetrius in the play? C, what or who is Aegeus to Hermia? D, what type of play is A Midsummer's Night Dream? And E, the fairy king and queen, Oberon and Titania, return from Dash to bless the marriage of who? Thank you very much for being part of this lesson. God bless you and stay safe.